non-synthetic fertilizers, natural stuff, and it all kind of bears in on what you and I live with, and this is it. That's a picture taken 1995 to 2004. The brown, the deeper it gets, the hotter it's gotten in those last so many years. And the fuel spots, this one at least work. It doesn't work like this. There's a few spots that have actually gotten colder. And when we say global warming, I quit using the word, let's call hyphen. Is there a room right there? I'm trying to stay everybody's right. We need to say climate change. There's going to be some places that go real cold. And when everybody says global warming, they automatically think the whole world's going to get hot. Well, it's really not. It's going to switch around and temperatures are going to change. But it's not going to just get warmer. I'll tell you a story. I got this here for a reason. I was a herpetology major. I've been studying snakes and turtles since I was 10 years old. At 11 or 12 years old, if you did this today, you sent your kids here, you'd be arrested. But my folks would actually stick me on a bus in South Georgia and send me to South Florida to collect snakes and turtles in the summer for pet shops and things. Again, I think I said either my 12th or 13th year was the first year. Well, we collect them a lot, but mostly what we did is bought them from the Indians. We go down and get a 6-pack of beer. I wasn't drinking beer yet, but everybody else was. And go to the villages, and they'd collect all day and all night in the swamps. And then we'd trade them, give them money, or trade or whatever. And they were really as great a collectors as we were, or better. We road collected. I'd ride on the hood of the car and drive up and down Alligator Alley. How old am I now?
Yeah, I
60.
How long ago was that?
Oh, it's 50 years ago.
50 years ago.
48 years ago. I mean, I went for years. But anyway, then I'd ride on the hood of the car and we'd see a snake, we'd jump off a rabbit. So that's what they used us kids for. But anyway, what brought the story on is that they would always talk, the Indians really were philosophical. And they would talk to me about the Mother Earth. And I thought they were kind of making up this idea. Well, no, I finally got to know them as I got old enough and matured, and I realized they really do believe the Earth is our mother. We are intimately tied to it, and there's nothing that we do that's not part of it, or nothing that it does that's not part of us. So it kind of changed my attitude. That's kind of what they said. We are the environment. We are what we live, what we eat, what we sleep, and where we go. And I'm going to kind of get a bit about 15-minute show. This was a longer show I did at Texas A&M in February. First time they've ever invited organics over there. The nature nerds got to go to A&M. And then I presented this in a long before. We sort of, I'll go through this real quick. We are the earth, the wind, the fire, and the water that makes up our whole earth. From the moment we're born, and we take our very first breath, we breathe in as a young adult or adult about 5 quarts of air. 5 pints, I guess is the word. And that baby starts breathing in, and the first thing you do when you're born is breathe in, and guess what? The last thing is you when you die, you breathe out. That's the end of it. In the meantime, we're taking out this much air every time we breathe on average. In our lungs are 300 million little cells called alveoli, and what they do is they immediately exchange the, what have we got, 20% oxygen coming in, about 79% nitrogen, and about 1% inert gas. And that comes into our lungs, and we breathe it and we breathe it back out. But if we breathe it all back out, our lungs would collapse and we die. So we keep a good part of it in, and we let a good part of it out. If you spread out lungs into 2 dimensions, your average human adult lung will cover more than a tennis court. Air is very important to us.
One lung.
That's a set of lungs.
Oh, a set.
We'll cover that tennis court with alveoli. That's a lung. Okay, and one side, let me give you this was a thought exercise. Let me tell you who Harlow Shackley is, and you'll know who he is. You won't know him from what we're going to do here. He's very famous because he's the first man that measured the size of the Milky Way.
It's kind of slippery.
Okay? He discovered the size of the Milky Way, and he's known as an astronomer. But he's also a brilliant man that we never knew. And this is a thought exercise he went through to try to convince people of things that I think is very parallel to what we're doing. I told you we breathe in that air, and it's about 20% oxygen, 79% nitrogen. About 1% of it's other stuff. Of that, about 0.9 to 3%, almost the whole percent, is argon gas. Now, argon doesn't hurt us, it doesn't help us, but it's what's called a noble gas. For those of you that took chemistry, a noble gas doesn't do anything. It doesn't mix with anything, it doesn't go away, it doesn't come back. It's sort of been here, and it'll be here later. It's around. But what it did is give him a good mark. When you breathe in this 3 times 10 to the 18th, I don't even know how to say that number, but each time you take a deep breath, you're taking in that many atoms of argon into your lungs. You breathe them back out. When I breathe my breath out that I just took in, and in a few seconds or a minute or two, all of you have got some of those argon atoms in your lungs that I just breathed. We're tied together. You have to think, where does my air stop and your air start? It doesn't cut off anywhere. We're all sharing this air. So as we breathe that argon gas out, it's followable, it's traceable because it's a noble gas. Believe it or not, I breathe it out, it gets caught in this air, it heads across the Gulf of Mexico, it goes into Canada, and here's what his thought process was. In 1 year, from the time you breathed in that argon gas, you'll have at least 18 or 20 of those atoms back in your lungs. They've been around the world. Think about that. Are we all sharing the air or not? We are. As a matter of fact, the same argon atoms that you're breathing, this guy right here breathed in when he was alive. The same ones. So did she, and more importantly, so did he. These same argon atoms are here. They're noble gases. They don't break down, and we're sharing it. But doesn't that also say we're sharing all the other air? We're breathing all this stuff in all the time. The air I'm breathing today, I have a 32-month-old grandson. He'll be breathing it when he grows up, and so will his children. It goes into the future. The air that we're sharing is not just air you and I share that blows away and gone. It's got to be here. And if it's not here, we're not going to make it. Anybody heard the canary in the coal mine story? I'm sure you have. I'm from West Virginia, and my family were, I call them redneck coal farmers. They mined coal for a living. Here's how they protected themselves in the coal mines. They took canaries down every day. And if a canary dropped off the perch, you got your butt out of the coal mine right now because it's poison air. Okay, you didn't stop and say, hey, David, how come the canary's falling down? Hell no, you got out of the cage right now and you got out of that mine. They were our warning. Well, folks, I got news for you. We've got canaries right now. They're called children. At the turn of the century, 5 to 6% of these kids had asthma. At the last, it was 16%, moving up to 17%. Getting asthma. Okay, asthma is not good for you. Asthma does this to your bronchial tubes. You can't breathe. There's a good ideal sound. Okay? And what we know is it's over 15%, it's over 16 right now. Here's what bothers me. I used to work for a doctor. I used to be an ophthalmic technician. I've been in that side. I worked in hospitals. I worked in surgery. You go ask a doctor why the kid's got asthma. He says, oh, he's allergic to smoke. He's allergic to hair. He's allergic to dust mites. No, folks, he's allergic to the air because it's polluted. When we go from 6% to 16% of the kids sick from just breathing our air, we got an air problem. And we need to admit it to ourselves. This is one more story. I'm supposed to make this short. Working for the doctor, one day we had a call. Ordinarily, I worked in Colonel, Texas. We had a call for a man that had to have his eye extracted.
Oh.
He'd ruined his eye. We had to take his eye out. But we had to go do it in San Antonio, Nick's hospital. So I drove all the way down there, and I got there real early. The guy's already in there. We were waiting. We had to dress him, and you had to wait for everything to get in to take his eye. So I had a few minutes of rest. I went into the emergency room area to steal a coat. And Nancy, a lady that I know there, because we used to go to that room, I asked her, I went in, and the whole place by 10 in the morning was full of people. They were stacked. They were sitting on top of each other. They were holding each other's kids. There's a bunch of old folks in there. And I asked Nancy, what's going on? She says, oh, it's a smog alert day. All these people are in here to get air. They're in to see their doctors. They're in hoping to God they don't die before they can breathe again. So I went in, we did our surgery, we got out about 1 o'clock or 1:30. I go back through the emergency room because I illegally parked in the emergency area. I was in a hurry. It's still full. There's still people everywhere. They're a different group. There's hundreds of people coming through here. I go out in the parking lot, and this is why